Welcome to the final lesson in Science Unit 1, Lesson 10, the final project presentations. In this lesson, students will share out their pamphlets in small groups. And so what students will need to do is bring 10 copies of their pamphlets to class. They don't need enough for everyone because they're not going to get to talk to everyone in the class, but they'll take turns sharing their pamphlets in groups of 3. And so in each group of 3, you're going to have a pamphlet expert, that is the writer. You'll have a student who is taking the role of a consumer for whom the pamphlet was written. So in other words, if you had a pamphlet on cholesterol, then you might have someone who has high cholesterol and needs to know more about that particular topic. And then someone else will take a role of a skeptic, and they will question the reliability of the information. There'll be someone who doesn't really necessarily buy into it and maybe needs to be swayed a little bit. So what do teachers need to know? So you need to explain the 3 roles to the students. So the consumer and skeptic will take notes using the guiding questions in their academic notebook on how the pamphlet impacted their understanding of the topic and what actions they'll take based on what they learned. They'll also note questions for the content expert, for the pamphlet writer. And students will take each role, expert, consumer, and skeptic, 1 time per group. So in other words, for one of the pamphlets, they will take the role of the expert. That's the one that they wrote. For another one, they will take a role of a consumer. And for the third one, they'll take the role of a skeptic. And so as they get into their small groups, they can decide which one they'll be the consumer for and which one they'll be the skeptic for. So as they have their discussion, as they do their presentations, the group members will read and take notes on the pamphlets of the other 2 group members using the guiding questions in the academic notebook. So in the academic notebook, there is a pretty long form for them to fill out so that they think about their understanding of the topic, the actions they'll take based upon reading the article, reading the pamphlet, what questions they have for the author, and also how effective was the pamphlet. Did it introduce the topic? Was it clearly and fully explained? Were the recommendations effective and complete? What was the strongest part? What did they suggest for improvement? So they'll read the pamphlet in depth, they'll take notes, they'll make their questions, and then they'll discuss each pamphlet in turn as a group. So what did they learn? How did it impact their stance? And what questions did they have? They also need to be able to summarize the information and make connections to their own topic. So as they have a discussion, they need to think about all this information. And students will switch roles and continue to read the pamphlets in groups of 3 as time allows. So typically you can get through at least 2 iterations, 2 small groups, and sometimes 3 small groups within 1 class period. So that is lesson 10 in a nutshell. It's basically them sharing out the. They will also conduct a weekly reflection where they think about the science and they think about the learning as they finish out Unit 1. That's it in a nutshell.